everybody thinks of archery, everyone always comes towards the bow. But it's the arrows that actually did the damage. And these medieval arrows were used all throughout Europe. If one thing's for certain, the medieval arrow was a killer. And in today's video, I'm going to take you step by step on how I construct these medieval style arrows. Now I would like to say that I'm pretty good at arrow making. I mean, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at archery. I mean, I'm basically a master at this point. I don't know, it just comes easy to me. So the first step is going to be to gather all the tools and materials you're going to need. Some linseed oil, some wood stain, some beeswax, pine resin, and copper acetate. I'll explain why you need these later. You need some tools, so a knife would be handy, a rotary cutter, and a hacksaw are all tools that you'll need, and some sandpaper. And last but not least, a hammer and sickle. No, I'm just kidding. Another material that I forgot to mention is you're going to need a dowel for the arrow shaft. You can find these dowels pretty much at any DIY hardware store. And then you want to make your way over to the dowel section of the hardware store. And you want to look for the 3/8 inch oak dowel, as they're going to be the strongest and best for arrow making. It takes a little while to pick through all the dowels to find the best ones for arrow making, but yeah, you just gotta sort through them all. One of the things you want to be looking out for is any cracks or damages in the dowel, and you want to be looking for a good grain structure all the way out throughout the dowel, because they're going to provide the best arrows for you. When you get your dowel home, lay it out flat and then make a mark at 32 inches. You're then going to want to cut along the mark you made with a hacksaw. The next step is to create a notch in the string which the arrow will sit in. Next, you're going to cut the string groove into the dowel using a round file. Your notch should look like this when finished. Our next step is to create the fletches on the arrow. I will be using swan feathers for my arrow, but you can also buy these pre-cut feathers online that come in uniform shape. To do this, you simply take your feather, and then with a rotary cutter you want to split the quill down the middle. Once you've split your feather, the next step is to take a knife and to start stripping away some of the bulk from the bottom of the quill. This will help prepare the base for when you attach it to the arrow. To finally finish up the quill, to be ready to fletch, I'm going to rub a piece of sandpaper over the quill to prepare it. What you should have is a thin membrane left behind of the quill to be attached to the arrow. The next step is to cut the feathers into the shape of the medieval arrow fletch. You can use a feather fletching template, although I've been pretty skilled at this and I can do it from freehand now. To do this, I'm simply going to cut the feather to 6 inches. And then with a rotary cutter, I'm going to align the feather with a ruler and then cut the feather. This is pretty satisfying. When it's all done, you should have 3 beautiful cut medieval arrow feathers. The next step is to stain your arrow shaft. I'm using a wood stain to stain the arrow shaft, and we're just going to rub it directly on the arrow shaft. This is pretty basic, although it was awkward filming this. You basically just take a napkin or a paper rag, and then you dip it into the paint stain, and then directly rub it on to your arrow shaft to create a nice rustic color to it. You're then going to want to let your arrow soak up the sun while it develops a nice tan on it. Now that we have our arrow shaft and feathers cut out, it's now time to fletch. the feathers to the arrow shaft. In order to combine all the ingredients together, you're first going to need to melt them up. So I'm going to light 2 tea tree candles together and then we can start melting the mixture. I'm going to be heating the mixture together in an old soup can. With a spoon, you're going to want to take 1 scoop of pine resin, 1 scoop of beeswax, and then just a little dash of copper acetate. The next step is to paint the resin mixture onto the arrow shaft. With a paintbrush, we're just going to take it and gently start painting in. You might be asking yourself, what's the function of this green mixture in between the feathers? And this mixture contains copper acetate, which if you don't know what that is, that's basically copper rust. And what this is, it's in the medieval times, it serves as an insect repellent against feather mites from destroying the arrows whilst in storage. It also serves as a waterproofer and helps seal the bind in between the feathers. Next, we're going to learn how to attach the feathers and how to stitch them to the arrow shaft. The first step is to heat the resin mixture over the fire or a candle. And then with the feather you want to directly attach it to the heated resin mixture. When you've attached all 3 feathers, it should look something like this. Then with some silk thread, you're going to attach the feathers to the arrow shaft. You're going to want to thread them in an upward pattern. When you're all done, your arrow should now look like this. It's beautiful. Finally, you're going to want to attach the point to the arrow. There are many different types of medieval broadheads. Some look like this, others look like this, for armor piercing. Me personally, I don't have any intentions of killing anyone, so I'll just use a normal practice point. In this video, I talked about the steps and processes and how I make my medieval style arrows. I hope now that you have a better insight on how these arrows were made. Archery is an extremely fun and relaxing sport and really satisfying when you get into it. So if you haven't tried archery, you should probably give it a shot. Even though it might look difficult to make your own arrows, you might just want to give it a shot. It's pretty easy. Shake my hand if I should be voted as best video. Yes, sir!